Welcome again. This is slide number 6 of the prophetic calendar based on Israel's feast days, the prophetic significance of the feasts of Israel, and I'm your host, Doug Krieger of the Tribulation Network. Again, we are taking a look at our Jewish calendar. This is the sacred calendar of the Jewish people. There are 12 months in the calendar. Each month has 30 days. We consider this 360 biblical calendar days. There are 365.24 days in a solar year, but in the Jewish calendar there are 360, the same number of degrees in a circle. Again, Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, weeks, trumpets, Day of Atonement, and tabernacles, and we've concluded with adding Hanukkah in that its prophetical significance is just that. It is certainly a festival of lights. The major prophetic feast days of Israel. The Feast of Passover, 14 Nisan is the Hebrew date. Its prophetic occurrence, Jesus' ministry, was for 3.5 years. There were 4 Passovers, which occurred in John's Gospel. It's the beginning of Daniel's 70th week. It begins on Passover and ends on the 8th Passover. The Jewish people expect Messiah on a Passover based on the sacred calendar. It gives way to the civil calendar, however, at its end. Christ crucified, the Passover. And I want you to take a look at all these many scriptures in Leviticus 23 verses 4 and 5, 1 Corinthians 5, 7, and 8, and then the feast days of Passover in John's Gospel, John chapter 2 verses 13 through 22, John chapter 5 verses 1, 5, 8, 14, 16, and 18, John chapter 6 verse 4 and 14 on the third Passover that Jesus participated in the Gospel of John, and finally his final Passover as found in John's Gospel, chapter 11 verses 55 through 56, chapter 12 verse 1, chapter 13 verse 2, chapter 18 verse 28 and 30, chapter 19 verses 14, 31, and 42, chapter 20 verses 9 and 22. And then the feast day known as unleavened bread, and there's the Hebrew name that I'm sure I'm going to mutilate properly, but it's there for your viewing. And then this occurs on the 15th of Nisan. It's 7 days. Its prophetic fulfillment is the burial of Jesus. Leviticus chapter 23, 6 through 8 records it. Matthew 26 verses 17 through 19, and Mark chapter 14 verses 1 and 2, and 12 through 16. And then the Feast of First Fruits, and this occurs on 17 Nisan. 49 days from this date is Pentecost, the 50th day, Sunday to Sunday. Its prophetic fulfillment is the resurrection of Jesus, Christ the firstfruits, afterward those who are Christ at his coming. It is found in Leviticus chapter 23 verses 9 through 14, and in Matthew 28 verses 1 through 10. Reshit Katzir is the Feast of Firstfruits. Now continuing the Feast of Pentecost, harvest time and its fulfillment, the Feast of Weeks, known as also as the Feast of Harvest, the latter firstfruits or the firstfruits festival, and this occurs on the 6th and 7th of Sivan. The prophetic fulfillment is the church baptized into one body. This is found in Leviticus chapter 23 verses 15 through 22, and in Acts chapter 2. And then Tisha B'Av, the fast of the 9th of Av, the destruction of both the first and second temples, and the final desecration of the tribulation temple in the midst of the week of Daniel, chapter 9, verse 27, the Tish of Av. It commemorates the destruction of Solomon's and the Herodian temples in its first and second temples. Its third desecration will eventually issue forth in the anointing of the most holy place and the final feast of dedication at the close of the 75 days of Daniel's 70th week. The Feast of Trumpets, Rosh Hashanah. In these Feast of Trumpets, it will occur on the first day of Tishrei. It's the beginning of the civil calendar of the Jewish people. It is found in Leviticus chapter 23, verses 23 through 25. The major prophetical feast days of Israel. Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. This will begin the 75-day countdown. It is and occurs on the 10th of Tishrei. 6 months from the Passover, beginning of the 75 days of Daniel chapter 12, verses 11 through 12. It is the atonement, the judgment based on the wrath of the Lamb. It is based on the civil calendar, the Almighty dealing with the nations. It is found in Leviticus chapter 23, verses 26 through 32, in John chapter 1, verse 29 and verse 35. Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles, of Booths and Nations. This occurs on 15 through 21 Tishri. It's 7 days. Firstly, the Feast of Tabernacles will occur in the midst of Daniel's 70th week, or the 1,010 days from the Feast of Dedication, the days of sacrifice. It will be also the abomination of desolations. Secondly, the Feast of Nations within the 30 days of the 75 days will also reoccur. Thirdly, it will be the millenarian reign and rule and reign of the Son of David, and it will be commemorated and celebrated as the Feast of Tabernacles throughout the 1,000-year millennial rule and reign. It occurs in Leviticus chapter 23, verses 33 through 44, and John chapter 7, verse 2 through 52. Finally, Hanukkah, the Feast of Dedication, the Festival of Lights. This occurs every Kislev 25. It is the first Feast of Dedication on 25 Kislev that it took place 165 BC. The second dedication to be on the 250th day of Daniel's 70th week, and the third dedication to be on the 75th day from the Day of Atonement unto the 25 Kislev will occur on the 1,335th day, as seen in Daniel chapter 12, verse 12, at the start of the millenarian reign. This is found in 2 Maccabees chapter 1, verses 18 through 36, and in John's Gospel chapter 10, verses 22 through 38. This is the civil calendar, Nisan 1, Rosh Hashanah, the Feast of Trumpets, the sacred calendar, Tishri 1, the New Year for Kings, and the Torah feast days. Thank you again for viewing and listening to this sixth set of the Prophetic Feast of Israel. This concludes set 6, and please view set number 7, our last one of the Prophetic Feast of Israel. Again, I'm your host, Doug Krieger of the Tribulation Network.